Really Likable Geeks podcast. I'm Steve.
I'm Matt.
And I'm Stuart.
And this is the podcast where we talk about nerd stuff and things that keep you from going outside, like video games, comic books, anime, and other nerd things alike. This episode of the podcast is brought to you by Audible. Thank you, Audible, for sponsoring the Really Likable Geeks podcast. Book of the week, Stuart.
The book of the week is I Am Legend by Richard Matheson.
And you are a legend.
Yes, I am.
Don't encourage him.
A terrible plague has decimated the world, and those who were unfortunate enough to survive have been transformed into bloodthirsty creatures of the night, except, that is, for Robert Neville. He alone appears to be immune to this disease, but the grim irony is now that he is the outsider. He is the legendary monster who must be destroyed because he is different from everyone else. Employing a stark, almost documentary style, Richard Matheson was one of the first writers to convince us that the undead can lurk in a local supermarket freezer as well as a remote Gothic castle. His influence on a generation of best-selling authors, including Stephen King and Dean Koontz, who first read him in their youth, is well legendary. Fantastic novel.
Great book.
Not so great movie.
Movie was okay.
The movie wasn't that great.
Movie was not very good.
I
tried to get you to screw up so bad. I was going to grab your weenus.
I'm glad you didn't.
Me too.
Let's talk more about the book now, I guess. That was probably one of my favorite books when I was a teenager.
Really?
Was I Am Legend. Yeah, it's
good.
It's such a great.
Read the book. Don't watch the movie.
You really don't see the ending coming because the ending is very different in the novel from the movie.
It also has a
completely
really
different.
nice kind of I don't want to call it nice, but it has a very realistic tone to it where everyone, you always see the majority oppressing the minority, and it's something you see in society all over the place, but you don't even think of it happening to people as a whole because people are the majority. We're the top of the food chain. We're this, we're that. So then in this book here, you've got the last man on Earth, and he's being hunted to extinction because he's different.
Yeah. You didn't know that I Am Legend was a book? Yeah. It's great. You've seen the movie, right? That's not how it is.
If you've seen the movie and you like the movie,
that's because you haven't read the book.
Read the book because the movie's garbage.
Yeah, in comparison. Yeah. You didn't like the movie? I know a lot of people didn't like it either.
The movie was okay until they decided to, at the end...
Killed the dog, is that what you said?
Yeah, that was depressing.
That was
but
sad.
I mean, that's a tone of the movie. But the end, when they went, oh, by the way, what happened in the book? Psych, that's not what happened here.
Yeah.
I didn't care. I didn't care for that.
I didn't like
all.
that. But the rest of it was acceptable, I guess.
It was a movie.
I preferred the Charlton Heston campy Omega Man to Will Smith's serious. Yeah, the mannequins were
but you
freaky,
know what?
but
Will Smith did fantastic in that movie. He did. I thought he did pretty well.
he did. It just wasn't a good movie. So, all right, what are we talking about this week, Matt?
Yeah.
Well, this week marks the entrance to the month of October.
Halloween.
All things spoopy and Halloween.
Spoopies.
Yep. Spoopy. Yep. Watch out for the skeletons. They're behind you. They're inside of you. It's too late. The skeletons are already inside of you.
Spooky skeletons. Anyways.
But in honor of the entrance to the month of all things scary and Halloweenish,
Halloweeny.
you see where I was going? Because you said that earlier. You should
Weenus.
probably cut that part.
Weenus? It's this. This is Weenus.
No, I meant what I just did.
Halloweeny?
Whatever.
I don't know what you did.
Fine.
Okay, fine. We'll let it fly.
Moving on.
Weenus.
We are going to talk about video games because we haven't done that in a while.
We have not. Specifically,
scary, spoopy video games.
Spoopy.
You're just gonna keep saying
Horror
that, aren't you?
films.
Yes, I really am.
Except not films, games.
Yes.
Why did you say films?
I don't know.
All right.
Spoopy.
Because I am Legend.
Because I am Legend. That's a movie.
Okay.
So, starting off.
The origin of horror games. What would you say is the very first horror video game ever created?
The first horror game? Well,
Missed.
Oh, Jesus.
Because
that wasn't a horror game.
It was a horror to try to get through.
That game was pretty gnarly. I mean, I could, like, the first ever horror game, I don't know. Personally, I know that
Alien Invaders.
I remember, like, playing games like Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde on the NES. That was pretty gnarly. Castlevania was pretty freaking scary. Anytime you play Castlevania and that thing came up and said, "What a terrible night for a curse," I was like, "Oh no, my
You know
goodness."
what? Castlevania might be a good one to say as a good origin point because it fits with the.
That wasn't
theme.
really a horror game. I think it was more like a gothic action
but
game.
it was.
But I mean,
It was
skeletons,
eerie. It was pretty eerie.
demons.
I'm talking about a game specifically designed to be horror. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like they're like Alien has scary movies in it, but it's a science fiction movie to me.
Right.
You know what I? You know what
The
I'm
first
getting at.
one.
It's sweet. It would be Alone in the Dark. 1992 was the first game that was ever
Okay.
said to be, or
Okay.
advertised as a horror game.
Okay.
I agree with that.
Well, okay, let's get technical. Alone in the Dark was the first horror game. Resident Evil 4 years later in 96 was the first game ever advertised as
a horror
survival horror.
Right.
So
I can agree with both those statements.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Alone in the Dark came first. I think that to me is the true original
Origin point.
horror game.
Yeah.
I mean, there you can make an argument that Zork was a horror game, but
Yeah, you could.
So.
All right, you're right. But actually classified as a horror game
yeah.
was Resident Evil. Now, that was in 1996?
Six.
Was
Okay, out of curiosity, because there was a game that came out for I believe I had it on the Super Nintendo.
The SNES.
Splatterhouse was terrifying as a child. Like, for me, if I had to think, like, what was, like, the first game, because I understand Resident Evil, and I played it on, like, I think actually I played Resident Evil on the Dreamcast before I even played it. Splatterhouse.
I don't remember it.
Was terrifying on the Super Nintendo. It scared me. My dad had it, and he would play it. And I remember for a while, he didn't want me to even watch him play the game. He was very much like, don't watch. It's kind of scary. And I remember one night, very very
One fateful night.
Yeah, this it scarred me as a child, like legitimately, and it still kind of freaks me out when I play the game. But I remember playing the game. I'm going through. It's a side scroller, kind of a beat 'em up style game. There's all these things happening. You're in this house, this like haunted kind of styled house, and you're beating up all these monsters, stuff like that. But you get to this very specific part in the game where you enter a room and there's a child in the room. There's like a little kid in the room, and you're like this big buff dude who's got like a Jason mask.
Okay, this is the Friday the 13th ripoff game.
Yeah.
I know this
'Kay.
game. I got
You walk into the room and there's like a kid and he's like, "Oh, he's all scared," and you're like, there's all these teddy bears in the room and there's like all these like stuffed animals and stuff going on, and one of the teddy bears like grows these like arms and legs, but like think of like if your bones just shot out of your skin and like it's just like meat and bones and it's like all green and red and nasty, and it just starts chasing you around the room.
So
Neat.
Yeah, it was.
So,
it's like
like,
that, and it's like not
what's his-
subtle at all. It's just like,
what's his
bleh.
name from Street Fighter? But the skin didn't go with him.
Exactly.
Dawson.
And
Yeah, there you go.
and it just starts chasing you around the
Oh,
room.
God.
And it's like making gnarly noises and stuff like that. And I remember being really young playing this and just being terrified of anything that was stuffed. Like thinking that was going to happen.
Two sisters.
And I had two sisters who had
stuffed
tons.
animals out the wazoo.
Yeah. And now I understand why Dad didn't want me to play the game. My dad would play it all the time, but he would always play like TV turn, like
Right.
and he would be like, "Whoa!" Like back in the day. But
That
game
was a funny. I didn't
terrified
I didn't see
me.
it until like after I had played Resident
yeah,
Evil.
it is.
Or Alone in
it's
the Dark. No,
gnarly.
I played Alone in the Dark. You know why? Because I played Alone in the Dark on the Dreamcast.
Yeah.
And that
Okay.
freaked me out because that was the first game that ever really made me feel like uneasy.
Yeah.
And it was, I think I remember the exact moment that I like first started getting scared of playing that game was you're coming in to the mansion, and before you get inside, it switches viewpoint to someone watching you from a high window, and you see his hand on the windowsill. And you're still controlling your character, but it's just from the viewpoint of this high window, and that just freaked me out.
You're like, I don't think I like this very much.
Also, the scissors. That freaked me out. You know what I'm talking about?
No, I didn't play it. So.
Oh, okay. Freaked me out.
I'm trying to find the bear thing so I could show.
Doom was not so much a horror game as it was a first-person shooter.
Yeah.
It had
Okay, Matt.
elements in it. It didn't even
hand
really
this to
have
Matt.
jump scares.
So look at the big image. You see the big image? It's in the underneath it to the left. You see that image?
What?
That's what it was.
Where's his head?
Yeah. And it would chase you. It was terrifying. Imagine me being, whatever, 6, 7, and that's what I play. Yeah, it was gnarly.
Oh my. That's well then.
Terrifying. For a little kid, like, not understanding. It was pretty, now it looks a little like, well, it's a little gnarly, but back then, when it was like, whoa, these graphics are...
Yeah.
I'm
it was
glad.
gnarly.
And you know what? We'll I'm gonna jump
was
eras
scary.
for a second, but I'm really
Right?
glad that they're
Claws?
making horror games like specifically for children, because I think it's healthy to just be scared and to have nightmares.
right.
Like I think that's just part of being a kid and growing up.
Welcome to
Five
life.
Nights at Freddy. You know exactly where I'm going. That is a game for children that kind of freaks me out. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Oh, yeah.
Five Nights at Freddy is do you know what it is?
Yes, I know what it is.
But it's not scary to me as an adult, but I know kids who are like freaked out by that
Right.
game because it's a scary game for a child.
Sure.
And I just love that it's just like, let's make a horror game for children, 12 and under. Like, that's a great idea.
Yeah.
And the entire plot of the game is
It's advertised
security-
as like the enemies are so cute and cuddly.
Yeah.
They're gnarly.
They are not. It's
they're creepy.
in the game.
Kind of like this right here.
Yeah.
It's so cute and cuddly, and all of a sudden
Exactly.
it turns into
And
a
that's-
horrible
Grows arms
monster.
And that's what made me think of it, is because you're basically at Chuck E. Cheese and you're a night security guard and you're stuck in the security room viewing the cameras as the horrible, like, animatronic furry monsters inevitably come closer to you.
Yeah.
And you have like a limited amount of power, and you have to choose like when to lock doors or like turn the lights on to scare them
Yeah.
back. And if they get to the security room, then they forcefully like stuff you into like a different like mascot costume, and you're forced to like spend eternity there, I guess.
I don't know.
Here,
It's
watch this,
so
Matt. Just watch it.
freaky.
Okay. We'll watch
Did
this.
the kid already like freak out?
Yeah, there's a ghost coming out of the kid.
And it goes into the teddy bear.
And now you're punching the teddy bear. No big deal.
Yeah.
Oh, teddy bear rolled over. Yep, just punching the teddy bear. Oh, put him up against the wall. Oh, whoa. Oh, he just matrixed you. He said, come get some. And his head came off, and there's a bunch of green goo. And he's got like meat arms with those are like fingernails, except they're like, wait. Oh, okay, that was the death scene.
Yeah.
Okay. I was like, oh my God, he's going to explode again. Never mind.
That
Wow.
game's gnarly, dude. It's gnarly.
I
That
think
scared the crap out of me as a kid. Terrified me.
That was a little gross right now. And I'm an adult.
Resident Evil was just so iconic. though.
Resident Evil had a lot of things in it that there was a lot of aspects in that game, because I think that Resident Evil really what made Resident Evil scary wasn't exactly like what you were facing. It's the perspective of which you're facing it, because a lot of locked cameras, a lot of almost like you're watching. It was almost like you were watching a movie and you're watching the character play through the
And
scenario.
the other thing that
and
it
it's like
really had
through
going
like
for it-
cameras and stuff.
The other thing it really had going for it was, and like you were saying, it was classified as a survival horror, was because this was one of the first times where, like, our producer was asking if Doom was a horror game, and it was more of a first-person shooter. Yeah, you have ammo, and you can run out, and blah, 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 blah. But in this one, you know what you're up against. Kinda, sorta. You know they're out there, but you don't know where they are. You don't know what's going to be around the next corner.
Right.
And you know that your shotgun only has 2 more shells.
Yeah.
That's all you know. And you come around the corner, and there's a dude with, like, chainsaw arms or something. And it's
Yeah.
like,
Something
oh,
or giant alligators.
Exactly.
Giant spider.
In the
Yeah.
freaking sewer. Oh.
Spider
and you
in the
don't
bar.
know what's coming. You just know there is something coming. And
Yeah.
you know that you don't have enough to face it.
Yeah.
But you've got to try.
Yeah, that was
Yeah,
when,
that was when zombies
were cool.
like, whoa, like this is gnarly. But I remember playing that and that being pretty like, man, this is gnarly. Like I remember that game. I would get scared because there were aspects of it that were pretty scary. The music, the atmosphere, the enemies.
Oh,
and
music is always such a key
who
component.
expects to see a giant spider? It's like, oh my gosh, like that stuff's crazy. But then I played Silent Hill. That scared me. Pyramid Head's
I think
a nutcase.
that was the second one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The second one, like I played all of them, but like the second one, Pyramid Head's a nutcase.
I think
that was scary.
Silent Hill was more disturbing to me. Like Resident Evil was scary.
Yeah.
Silent Hill was psychologically disturbing. You know
Fair.
what I mean? Because Silent Hill was always more of I guess it's the conflict, whether it's like a external, like Resident Evil was an external conflict against, you know, zombies and the Umbrella Corporation, like evil, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Silent Hill was more about an introspective personal conflict and like dealing with personal psychiatric issues, especially in the second one, because you come home to Silent Hill after being away for years and you're dealing with your own mental issues and the possibility that everything you're seeing is not actually happening.
Right.
Also, the scene where Pyramid Head sexually assaults a mannequin will never not be with me.
Yeah.
Like that is
You're
etched
twisted.
into my brain forever. And and our producer brings up a great point. It's because there is no escape from a mental issue. Like
Right.
There is no, you're just stuck with it.
Yeah. Like this is how you are. So,
Yeah.
Yeah. And he had those weird nurses.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
just,
So creepy.
The weird like he was just creepy. He was always dragging girls around by their hair.
Yeah.
He was weird. It was
Just
weird. It was
That
creepy.
scene where you just like come upon him and you're like, what is he doing to that mannequin? Oh no.
Oh no.
Oh no. What is he doing to that mannequin? That mannequin did nothing to you, Pyramid
I
Head.
can see John trying to. Oh my god.
Oh no.
Oh my god. Holy crap! He killed a dude.
The worst part about this is when you look at that and then you take into account the possibility that none of what you're seeing is actually happening, and maybe that's an actual reality thing.
I would prefer.
And that means there's
To
some
that.
dude just sexually assaulting some woman.
No, it was a mannequin.
It was a mannequin.
You were seeing
Oh,
a mannequin.
yeah, okay,
What
I
if
get
that's
you.
not what was really happening?
I would prefer.
Well, in my head, it was definitely a mannequin.
You're watching
if he
a
was in
rape,
memory.
and in your mind you see that.
Right.
What's the game? I know we'll probably bring it up. Is it Outlast?
With the camera?
With the camera and the batteries and the
Yeah.
asylum and all that.
But is that the one with the doctor?
Yes, it is.
Yep.
Outlast.
Ugh.
Yeah.
Was freaky.
That
Where
was-
he gets,
you're right. It was
where
the
he
second
gets,
one. It was the second
one
killed
with
in
the
the
doctor.
elevator. Is
The
that what you're
second
talking
one.
about? Where he gets squished in the elevator.
That was the first
That
one.
was the first
the
one.
second
I
one.
want to make sure you're talking about the right game. That's all.
The
Yeah.
second one, he's talking about the
the
father.
yes.
Yes.
The father.
Oh, that's the recent one, right?
Yeah, that was the
newest
second one.
Where
No,
they're-
no. There's a third one.
I played the third one. I played all of them.
The second one is the
second
one with father.
Has the father.
yeah, yeah. Okay, I know which one you're talking
Oh,
about.
Lord.
Now.
Or
Dude,
the
that
husband.
Game,
Yeah, that's it.
The husband.
the game was.
Thank you, producer.
Have you guys played the third one yet?
I have not.
The third one has a lot of that like religious
Symbolism.
in it. A lot of like weird like rituals and occultic stuff like happening, like crucifixions and stuff like that, like happening outside, like in these like little like town village areas. Like it's messed up. It's crazy.
I
Messed
think
up.
that
It's
the scene with
the second one's gnarly, but the third one you guys got to play it.
I
play it.
I don't think anything tops the father. Like
The third
I
one's
don't-
pretty intense. I'll read you guys a plot of the third one here. In this
I don't
moment
even know
here.
if we can describe what happens in that scene.
All I know.
The game's been out long enough. I think it's okay.
no,
to-
I mean like
On air.
censorship wise.
I think we're okay.
okay.
I think we're okay.
So-
just try to.
In the scene where, because you're a reporter who didn't learn his lesson from the first one, I guess.
Yeah.
And is investigating psychiatric hospital, blah, blah. And there's one patient who's the husband.
You have, for anyone who hasn't played the game, lights are out, storms outside.
You have no weapons or
You have
ability
no
to defend
weapons.
yourself.
You have no way to defend yourself. You have one handheld camera with night vision mode that you can use to see in the dark because there's no power,
I'm sorry. I said.
but limited
Outlast.
battery power.
It is Outlast 2. Is the one I'm thinking of. Not Outlast 3. They haven't made a third one yet.
It's coming out.
It's coming out.
Yeah.
yeah.
The
So-
second one is the. Then yeah, we're thinking about the same one.
The whole concept behind it is
I apologize.
to survive, outlast, and
It's gnarly.
you're coming through this asylum with your night vision camera, and you happen upon
Good, you can do it. I don't even.
No, go for it.
I don't want to talk about it. the husband who is a patient who is known for brutalizing both men and women
alike.
and for surgically altering
Ah,
men to become his wife until they inevitably disappointment, at which point he brutally dismembers them even more
Yeah.
than he has previously.
Yep.
So it is very visceral to be locked in that locker watching him make a new wife,
Yes. Knowing
that you're next.
that if you get caught and you can't get out of the locker without getting caught right now,
So you
which
have to
means
sit there
you
and
have
watch.
to watch. You are forced to watch.
It's
It's
psychologically
Jessica's death, right?
disturbing.
Is the
Yes,
name of
the
the
Yes.
character, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
God. The person who wrote that scene and just the script for that game. What
You
is
are a glorious,
wrong with you?
glorious, horrible bastard.
Who hurt you to make you think of such things? Yeah, but like I wouldn't be surprised if like
Working on Outlast 3 is what they're doing right now.
I wouldn't be surprised if like one day like we read on like Kotaku like, oh, writer and director of Outlast arrested, like 20 corpses found in his basement. I'd be like, oh, that makes sense. That makes more sense than him not being a murderer.
right.
Yeah, that game is a psychological mess.
For those of you who don't know what Outlast is, I know we're talking about it, but I'll read the synopsis
Yeah.
Sure.
For two.
for the second one. The first one's pretty straightforward, but the second one, yeah, the second was the second one I was talking about. It had a lot of weird like occultic like rituals and juju in it, like when you go in the church.
Oh,
yeah. Oh my gosh, that's insane. Like
Think the Linda Blair scene from Exorcist.
yeah,
And you know which one I'm talking
Oh my
about.
gosh. It's gnarly. It's gnarly. Like, okay, so the plot of the second one, for those of you who don't know what Outlast is, because I know there's a lot of people who listen to this who don't play horror games. There's a lot of people who know about the games, and some people just like good storylines. So, Blake, an investigative journalist and cameraman working alongside his wife, Lynn, crash lands in the, what is it? It's Supai, right?
Supai,
Supai region. Which is a country, is like the county region of Arizona. While following the mysterious murder of a young pregnant woman only known as Jane Doe. which is always the unknown,
Yeah.
John Smith. When he wakes up after the crash, Blake finds the pilot of their helicopter skinned, crucified, and his wife is missing. Blake makes his way to a nearby town, the Temple Gate, where he learns that the town has sacrificed all their children in the name of God.
Amen.
Blake eventually locates Lynn in a chapel captured by the cult led by Papa, Sullivan Noth. Noth claims that the Temple Gates lies on the mountain of hell and that Lynn is pregnant with the Antichrist. They escape the chapel, but Lynn falters, suffering stomach cramps. The couple are separated when Lynn is kidnapped by the heretics and their leader Val, a rival cult who wish to hasten the end of days. Throughout Blake's journey, Blake suffers from progressively more disturbing hallucinations based on his childhood, and they're gnarly. Some of them are very gnarly. All pursued by a grotesque monster.
Think of him having childhood flashbacks is like a mix of Hannibal Lecter's childhood and A Boy Called It.
Yeah.
But like times 10.
Yeah.
Like, if you ever heard of that book or know what I'm talking about.
Yeah. The hallucinations reveal the events surrounding the death of Blake and Lynn's childhood friend Jessica Gray at their Catholic elementary school. Blake and Jessica, while staying late at their school, were caught by one of their teacher's father, Luder Mills, or whatever it was, who is implied to have been molesting Jessica. And it just really goes
Downhill
down.
from there.
So, like, there's a part...
If we weren't already at the gates of hell, we are now.
Let's see. Blake and Lynn hurry there's a part in the game where Blake and Lynn hurry to the chapel. Lynn gives birth, then dies. It's not really a spoiler. It all happens pretty gradually. But Blake blacks out, holding the newborn, implied to be a hallucination by Lynn's last word. Noth greets Blake as he wakes up. He claims that he had to kill all of his followers and implores Blake to kill the child before slitting his own throat. It's like gnarly.
Yeah,
it's gnarly. Blake walks outside, sees that Noth's followers have committed a mass suicide via drink the red Kool-Aid.
Yeah, Jonestown.
The sun grows brighter and Blake is engulfed by the light. He has a vision of chasing Jessica through the school. When he catches her, she promises that she'll never let him go. And they start praying. Now, that's very vague. It's like there's some people in the crash land. There's like some dude who's doing some stuff. And it's like, but there are so many things that happened in the game that, like,
they're horrible things.
It's gnarly.
I mean, like, we can talk about
It's insane.
we can talk about Dead Space. Dead Space is a fantastic horror game. It's got such excellent timing on its jump scares. It's got an original story with elements that we're all familiar with.
And it keeps your adrenaline
It's
pumping
yeah,
because that inventory doesn't pause.
Yeah, it's that's such a great element.
Oh.
Like being unable to pause the game and like take a breath.
Oh, you
It's
can't.
such
Your
a
adrenaline is
such a
constantly
great
running.
idea.
Great idea.
And the necromorphs are terrifying. Like they're visually terrifying. They're like H.R. Geiger-esque with Kafka mixed in it, they're fantastic. Like the animation's fantastic. It's so visceral too, the combat. Like when you hit something in it, it feels really responsive.
Yeah.
It's great. The controls are great. Visuals are fantastic. The story's an original idea with familiar elements. You know what I mean? It's a twist on an old genre.
Right.
So it's not breaking new ground, but it's something,
It's
innovative.
It's got a little bit of everything.
It's not an Alien ripoff,
It is also
but
gory.
they use a lot of the elements.
It's pretty gory.
It is.
It's extremely.
It's not just pretty gory.
There are
it's
some
damn gory.
games that I will play where I'm like, this is pretty gnarly. Outlast doesn't pull any punches at all.
No.
Outlast stays
At
with
all.
you. Like I had a great time playing
And I will never play it again.
Dead
won't play it
Space.
again.
No, I'm saying I had a great time playing Dead Space. I played Outlast and I don't have like a set feeling on it.
Right.
Because whether or not like
You guys know it's jacked up.
We're talking about like horror movies, like slasher flicks from the 80s and the 70s. Like people were like, "Oh, it's gonna rot your brain." People who watch that are like psychologically damaged for life and they're more likely to commit violent crimes.
Yeah, right.
Obviously, that's absolute garbage.
Right.
Nothing.
Any more than people that say that video games influence violence.
Video
If you play
games
Grand Theft Auto.
don't influence violence. They
No,
don't
lag
cause
influence
you
violence.
Fair.
That's absolute crap. Anyone who says that any sort of media can influence your decisions or behavior is full of it. I mean,
Agreed.
do you honestly believe that Scorsese caused Hinckley to shoot Reagan because a taxi driver?
Oh, right.
I
would argue
stupid.
I would argue it's similar to hypnosis, where a hypnotist will tell you, I can put you under hypnosis and basically lower your inhibitions, but I cannot make you do anything that you wouldn't normally do anyway.
Right.
And that was the point I was getting to, is that seeing, the things in
Woogity woogity.
seeing like, watching, a Friday the 13th movie where,
Right.
Mrs. Voorhees gets her head chopped off isn't going to cause me to kill a bunch of counselors at a
Right.
camp.
Right.
But
That's a great idea. Let's go chop some heads off.
yeah, but at the same time, experiencing, even in a fantasy,
It's just a fantasy.
yeah, it still desensitizes you.
Oh, yeah, it does.
And I feel like nothing I've ever seen as far as horror, like movie-wise or novels or video games, has ever desensitized me to such horrible things
Right.
as Outlast did.
Outlast
Like
is-
Outlast is on a whole nother level. Like there are specific movies that I've seen and they were good movies and I will never watch them again. We need, what is that movie with Tilda Swinton? We need to talk about Kevin.
Oh.
We'll never watch that movie again.
Yeah, I'm good.
It's a very psychologically disturbing movie. It's good. I'll never watch it again. Old Boy. Fantastic movie. Never watch it.
I'm not watching it again.
It made me feel things that I didn't feel comfortable feeling.
That's how I feel with Outlast. It was
Outlast.
a fantastic
It was
game.
great to play once.
I enjoyed it.
I
It was
beat and I'm done with it.
it was
Yeah.
brilliantly done. I will never
Yeah.
ever
I can't put myself through that much
ever
mental torture.
start that game again.
No.
I would honestly love to know the people who bought that game. Because I think like especially with
I bought that game.
No, I'm saying like especially with things like Redbox and Netflix and GameFly, like buying games has become a new level of commitment. Like if I buy a game, it's because I have the intention of playing it more than once.
Right. Can't
You
do
know what I
that
mean?
with Outlast.
I will not. I
do
I
it.
couldn't. I couldn't play that game a second time.
No.
Like even if they
I
told me,
won't.
because there's games like what's the one where you're in the woods?
Slenderman?
No, not that one. The other,
that was a good
the
one.
better one.
The better one?
Yeah, there was a much better one. Until Dawn.
Oh, Until Dawn. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Another great, fantastic horror. If you guys don't know, Until Dawn is the first video game to ever capture that cabin in the woods scenario of video games.
That was such a good movie.
You're bottled in and scared for your life.
It follows the cliche of cabin in the woods horror movies to a T.
Right.
You're 8 teenagers in a vacation in a cabin in the woods, and then you're trying to traverse,
and then
the
you're 7,
fictional
then
Blackwood
6, then
Mountains,
5.
and you have to make these like ethical and moral decisions throughout the game, and that affects like what happens. And it's only like 9 hours, I think. It's only
Roughly,
like
yeah.
9 or 10 hours.
Something like
it's
that,
a very
yeah.
short game. So it's built for replayability, but the ending I got, and there's like numerous endings.
Doesn't
I don't really want to play it again.
Right.
Like the ending I got, I'm done. Like, nah. I thought I had, for anyone that, it's very similar to Heavy Rain or Beyond Two Souls, where you're your choices affect the outcome.
Right.
It's a Mass Effect of horror.
Well,
Essentially.
it's what Mass Effect promised to be,
Right.
like, but wasn't.
Right.
Your decisions matter.
And it's
Yeah.
very. I think Until Dawn is probably the most movie-ish horror video game that I ever played.
Yeah.
Because that's not really, that's the one video game that's not really about twitch reflexes or mechanics or like traversing, like, oh, hit jump at the right time
Right.
to make it over. It's more about like making tough moral and ethical decisions and then dealing with the fallout of that.
Right.
And it was a
It's great.
fantastic game.
It's fantastic.
It's what Walking Dead should have been.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I need to read this thing real quick.
Okay.
So, I want to remind everyone that this episode of the podcast is brought to you by Audible. Thank you, Audible, for sponsoring this episode of the Really Likable Geeks podcast. Audible has an unmatched selection of audiobooks, original shows, news, and more that you can listen to on your iPhone, Android, Kindle, or MP3 player. For our audience, Audible is offering a free audiobook with a 30-day free trial to give you the opportunity to check out their service. We recommend to you I Am Legend by Richard Matheson, which you can keep even if you cancel. To download your free audiobook today, go to audibletrial.com/RLG and browse our unmatched selection of audio content. It's that easy. audibletrial.com/RLG. Again, that's audibletrial.com/RLG. Thank you, Audible, for sponsoring this episode of the Really Likable Geeks podcast. Matt,
I got you.
you got me with the thing.
I got you.
He gets to hit me later. So. Another game, that I'll just jump into really quick, which it was kind of disappointing, the outcome of it, but it scared me to no end, was the demo for Silent Hills PT.
What a fantastic brainchild.
I don't think I played that demo.
It was
It's
terrifying.
unfortunate that you can no longer play it.
Yeah, it was scary.
You can watch videos of it on YouTube.
Yeah, it was
But
real messed up
Konami took it down because
Hideo Kojima is.
Hideo Kojima left Konami because they are fools and wouldn't give him the money,
Anything he wanted.
the money that he deserved for basically keeping Konami afloat
Yeah.
for the past 30 years. Because name another like blockbuster Konami game from the past 10 years.
Yep.
Cricket. Oh, there isn't any because Metal Gear Solid kept that entire company afloat.
Yep.
I mean,
Next to
yeah.
maybe some Yu-Gi-Oh games, but
But I mean, like,
no,
Yu-Gi-Oh!
you're right.
Yu-Gi-Oh games had like 1 million sales, like
Was it
worldwide.
Was Zone of the Enders a Konami game?
Yeah, Hideo made all of his games for
Yeah.
Konami.
So I figured. Yeah,
But like
so
the
it's-
last 8 Silent Hills were all garbage.
They're terrible.
They were all flops.
Yeah.
Commercially and review-wise.
Yeah.
There is no other successful Konami game or franchise than Metal Gear Solid.
Yeah, I agree.
He kept that company afloat, and now they're going under. So they had
PT was
they had a
Love, love,
fantastic.
love.
For those that don't know what PT is, PT was the epic mashup of video game legend
Yeah.
Hideo Kojima and horror writer director mastermind Guillermo del Toro,
Yeah.
known for such fantastic movies.
The Latino Peter Jackson.
As he kind of does look like that,
Yeah,
doesn't
he
he?
does. I never put that together.
Known
Good
for
one, man.
such fantastic movies as Pan's Labyrinth,
Mm-hmm.
Coraline. You just
Oh, that was okay. That's like Five Nights at Freddy's.
yeah, because that's a Neil Gaiman novel for children, but it's
aimed
horror.
at kids, and then
Yeah,
all of a
and
sudden,
it's horror.
surprise!
Yeah. So
Have some nightmares.
for I don't know who the genius was that was like, hey, let's have Hideo Kojima make a Silent Hill game. Hey, let's have Guillermo del Toro come in and help him write it. I don't know how those sessions like worked out because Hideo doesn't speak English
But holy freaking crap.
and neither does Guillermo.
Yeah.
But neither of them
So-
speak each other's language either.
Yeah. And so do they have a guy translating from Japanese to Spanish? I don't know
Maybe-
how that worked.
Maybe Del Toro speaks Japanese.
I mean, he might. It's possible, but I know they both don't speak English. But the demo that they released for the game that was never completed because Hideo left Konami is probably like one of the coolest things I've seen in the horror genre of video games in a long time. It was really, I don't know.
It's just weird. It's one of those things where it's one of those
So I'm gonna have to Google it.
demos where you're not quite entirely sure what your actions in this demo are, what the point of what you're doing is, because
You don't know what effect these are gonna take.
You start in a hallway in a house.
Okay.
You make your way through the house. There's some weird stuff.
Sure.
You notice the stereotypical stuff. All right, it's 12 o'clock. I think it's 12 o'clock or 2 o'clock or something like that. There's a clock. It's 12 o'clock. There's some pictures on the wall. There's a bathroom. There's some creepy sounds coming from over here. Da-da-da-da. This is where the front door is. Oh, there's another door right there. I obviously go through there. You go through it, and you're right back where you started the demo. And there's a clock, 12 o'clock. What? But you turn around, can't go back. You can go forward. And then the clock different and things are different. But what you do as you traverse through the house depends on what happens as you go through the house. So you do a couple of things. Suddenly you turn the corner and there's someone standing at the end of the hallway. And you're like, oh my gosh. And like you back up, come around the corner, you go through and you start right where you started the demo again. Keep going. Like it's just one of those things where your actions in this like constant like time loop like matter. There's a part in the game where you're walking down the hall, scare the crap out of me. You're walking around the corner.
Groundhog Day meets horror.
There's there's a door.
I don't know how to feel about that.
There's
it's
a door,
fantastic.
and it's like
Loved it.
barely even open, and you notice like, well, that door's never been open before. And you go to like, well, obviously you're going to interact with it. You go to interact with it, and there's like this girl that's like just wretched out, and she just like, like closes the door. You're like, okay, all right, I'm done. Like, okay, all right.
No, thank you.
I don't know. And so you go through the door again, you come back around, and then things start to change. You know, as you do certain things, you have to trigger it to get it to do it. But the time is like stopping and it's changing, and the lights are like turning red. And then there's the part where you walk through, and you're like, okay, I'm not gonna go in that door because there's a girl in there. Then you walked by the front door, and you look up, and there's like a refrigerator. And it's like swinging with chains, and there's like blood dripping out of it. You're like, okay, all right, I'm done with this. Like,
So
it's messed up.
imagine the
It's
amazing
messed
controls of
And it's first person. It's first person.
the amazing controls of Metal Gear Solid combined with the incredible horror that only Guillermo del Toro can like
It is
summon.
terrifying.
Awesome.
It's scary.
Loved it.
You can watch the Game Grumps play it, actually. Aaron
They
and Danny.
freak out.
And Danny, he literally is like, okay, I'm turning this off right now. All right, I've had enough. And they literally just end it. Like, they don't finish
don't
it.
wanna play-
They
they
don't
don't
want to
finish
finish it
it.
anymore. Like, it's gnarly. Because Aaron played it, and he beat it, so he was guiding Danny through it. And
Yeah.
Danny starts playing it, and he's like, I want to go through this. I don't want to go. I don't want to go. And then, like, the lady, like, comes towards him along the hallway. She's all twitched out. He's like, okay, I've had enough. The
She
video
does
ends.
that stilted like stop
That-
camera walk.
Yeah.
Oh,
That, like, glitch walk thing. Where she's like,
Yeah.
it's like, whoa.
like that.
dude.
My arms are broken, but then they're this, and then they're that.
Yeah.
Oh.
About her whole body. And then she, like, comes running, like, past you.
Yeah, she
You're
like
"Woo."
comes at you.
Yeah.
Like through you,
Like
Yeah, like, right.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. She, like,
and she
flies.
just goes through you.
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh my god.
It's really,
Whoa,
it's real
awesome.
freaky. It's real messed up.
So wait, in this demo, could you die?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. You
Okay,
can- oh,
I was saying because
That's pretty.
I was thinking like I would almost think that'd be even scarier if just in the demo all this stuff is happening and you're expecting it's like, oh, here she comes, I'm dead, and she runs through you. It's why?
There's
Yeah.
other there's other
Why am
ways
I
to
alive?
die.
It's-
There's
What the heck?
the point of the game we don't know.
We don't know.
We don't know what the
because-
point
Because they
was.
never finished
We
it.
don't know why you were in the house. We don't know what the purpose of it was. We don't even know who you were playing as.
Yeah, we do.
Oh,
It was Norman Reedus.
That's yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
You were Norman Reedus.
Yeah.
Because then he took
What?
Norman Reedus and he
implemented
did
it in
Death
the
Stranding.
Yeah, but what?
It is messed.
people
even.
It's super
and
messed up.
I want to stomp on this internet like
It's jacked up.
thing that I've been reading like, oh, Death Stranding is just PT, but
No.
They changed the name. It's
No, it's
absolutely
not.
Death Stranding is a completely original game.
It's nothing we will
We're never
ever
going to play
explain.
PT.
We're apparently playing it right now. Remember?
Yeah.
About them saying that Death Stranding, like, we're apparently playing it right now. We don't even know it.
That's so weird.
I don't know what that means, but
Yeah.
right on.
Have you heard that?
No.
Yeah.
We're
It's
playing
weird.
Death Stranding right now.
Yeah. People are like,
Like alive
Yeah.
or like it's out.
yeah, essentially.
So it's a game that already exists and people are already playing it.
Apparently, we're influencing the game in some
some way.
We have no idea.
Society's actions
I
now.
have no idea.
I have no
No
clue.
one knows.
But that's what's been said.
But I know enough about Hideo Kojima and the things he said to believe him 100%.
yeah.
I
It's gnarly.
absolutely believe him. Because he's delivered on every promise he's ever made me.
Yeah.
He's I don't know, I think the only video game developer who's ever told me this is what's going to be in the game
Oh, and that's how it came out.
and then gave me
Delivered
that
on that promise.
and exceeded it.
Yeah.
I-
No, yeah, I agree.
I've never been disappointed by anything he's ever told me.
I promise to
agree.
give you 100%, and then you open that game and it's 150, and you're like, "Whoa!"
Yeah.
yeah.
Every game I play.
That's
By him, yeah.
I know. I was reading that, and I don't see. That's the thing. Like that whole interview he did, I don't know if it was just a bad translation
Oh, I don't know.
or if he was like being for real. Because people still don't really know what Death Stranding is because it might be a horror game.
Dude, watch the
it
trailers.
looks
It's
freaky.
weird.
It
He's like
looks
on the
really
beach and he's got
freaky.
like the
Scary.
baby, but it's a baby him.
Oh, and then
I don't know what's
and
going
then
on.
the
Like-
part with Mads Mikkelsen, and he's got like the tentacles like
Yeah.
coming out.
What
and
is going on?
soldiers.
But they're all wired to everyone else, so they're all like hive brain.
Yeah.
Maybe
I don't know.
Dude,
It freaks me out.
It's whack.
I mean, yeah, Hideo Kojima definitely has like extremely strange elements, like grounded in real world, like military, Metal Gear Solid.
You guys have seen that one photo from Death Stranding, right? Where he's it's Norman Reedus standing. He's got like the dog tags, and then there's all those handprints all over him.
Yeah.
What?
I don't know. It might be a horror game. He might be. But
I'm gonna
the
look
other
this up
thing,
real quick.
but the thing is that Guillermo del Toro has said he's not involved in it. Because
Or is
people are
that
like,
just, is that just a lie?
I don't know. Because
Dun dun.
I know.
Dun.
Because I don't know.
I don't know. It looks.
I
great.
don't even understand what that means. That we're playing the game right now.
I don't know.
What does that mean?
Are we in the Matrix?
Explain yourself. How could we be playing
I'm trying to look it up right now.
a video game that's not out? It's not on my console. I'll go home and check. It's not in there. How am I playing it? I don't have a controller. Yeah, it's the cloud. It goes up to the cloud.
I don't know. I don't know. I can't know. The guy's a freaking psycho genius.
Yeah.
I'm trying to find any information on it.
So weird. We're
So
playing the game
so
right
Silent
now.
Hill PT.
What?
Okay.
I gotta Google that.
Yeah.
All right.
That's
Hold
fantastic.
on. Let's see.
That's-
All right, Steve's got something for us. Steve, what do you got?
Trying to look up the whole thing where it says we're already playing the game.
Okay.
Some people are saying that they're talking about string theory. The constant mentioning of strands, the equation of the dog tags, even those lines hanging off from the letters could be described as strings. Whether he's using the term symbolically or literally, it's tough to tell, but it's definitely what he's alluding to. Wow.
Who knows?
It's real confusing. The rope
The guy's a
tying,
genius,
the
but he's-
rope is the tying the things together. There's so many.
I get it because those aren't even
things.
really dog tags.
No.
They're not. They look more like gravestones or
Yeah.
mausoleums.
He mentions your character would die and you'd continue. Maybe in this game, when you die, you restart, but the you from before doesn't die. Maybe it goes somewhere else and becomes something else. So maybe it's you already. And
We're already playing the game.
I don't know, dude. That's what he said. The game has already begun. You're
Yeah.
already playing.
What does that mean?
What does that mean?
How have we already begun?
Maybe he means when you start the game, it's not your first, like,
I mean, well, no, because our producer brought up the point that maybe like when you're playing the game, it's not your first life. But generally, just knowing him, when he says something weird and mysterious, people will like come up with like 20 different definitions. Like, because he did that for Snake Eater. Remember? Because it wasn't revealed until you actually started playing the game that you weren't playing a snake. You were playing as Big Boss.
Big Boss, yeah.
And he said, like, you know, the year before the game came out, it's like, oh, you don't play as Snake in this one.
Yeah.
And
You're like,
everyone was
whoa.
kind of like, what? Because we see that it's Snake.
Yeah.
We know it's David Hayter doing the voice.
Yeah.
You've shown us gameplay. We know it's Snake. On one cutscene, they called him Snake. What are you talking about? And it wasn't until we played the game that they're like, oh, it's the 60s. You're playing as Big Boss, so you're not playing as the Snake that we know.
Right.
So, and like people took that in like a million different ways. Like, oh, what if Snake is actually a Buddha who is reincarnated? Like, so when generally like when he says something and it's taken as like mysterious and like ethereal, he's usually literally saying, we're playing the game. To what?
That wasn't the explanation. What I said, I feel makes the most sense.
That it's you're starting the game like in the middle of like, I mean, it might be, but that's just such a weird statement to make that the fans and players are already playing the game. That's the other thing, is it might be a bad translation, but generally his statements.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know what to make of that.
Let's see. Hints about how death works in the game from Hideo Kojima. Kojima wants you to be curious about his game. Most tellingly,
We are.
in the first tweets he had a series of tweets. He wrote, "Our game is still far from being released, but the game has already begun. What are you able to spot?" He says, "In our teaser, we featured both the connecting strands of handcuffs, umbilical cords, and also stranding of whales. Of course, there are also other hints in there, the dog tags being one of these." This is straight from Kojima Productions, by the way. The dog tags, our game is still far from being released, but the game has already begun. What are you able to spot? In the short time after starting Koji Pro, we've been able to find people, build an environment to work, looked into tech, started up a project, and finished the teaser, which is that weird one that they first released. After making games for 30 years, I'm not worried at all. And to back us up, we've had both Mark and Kyle, Kyle Cooper and Mark Cernia, and people of Sony's Strand. Of course, a strand also connects us to Norman Reedus. Thanks to this, we're able to finish this teaser in just 2.5 short months. He was kind enough to help us out and be part of the strenuous process. From the days of coin-operated games, have had a continue option if you were to fail at your mission. Failing would also mean the death of your game character. In making a game, both in story and in the game system, you depict death. However, death is about to have a new meaning. Still, the main parts of playing will not change. Comparing it to driving a car you're familiar with will have the same familiar feeling when accelerating or braking. It's when driving this familiar car without stress for a while that you'll first notice the difference. That's the kind of game it needs to be. Dude, it's like...
He is like the most acid trip philosopher, like warrior video game creator. Like,
here's the weird thing he says.
ever, like-
Okay,
he says,
so you took
he
every
says-
Eastern philosopher that ever lived, reincarnated them into a video game designer,
Hideo Kojima.
and that's who we've got.
yeah.
He
and,
says...
well, the other thing is that it's interesting to note how he uses the word strand, and he's literally using like every possible definition of it.
Yeah.
Like from the figurative strand that connects us through relationships to whales being stranded on a beach
To a
the
physical strand
holding people
together
or in incarceration,
binding.
and binding them
Yeah.
and preventing them from something, like
Yeah.
as in the handcuffs. But he's also connected to the baby through that umbilical.
Yeah.
Which is a different kind of binding.
And the whale.
Yeah.
It's weird. Well, he goes on to say stuff like, one of my favorite writers wrote a novella called Rope, which he read in high school. This book talks about the first inventions of the human race, the stick and the rope. The stick helped man to keep distance from threats. The stick helped ape evolve into man. On the other hand, the rope helps us capture and bind important things to us. Most online games will have you fight with a stick. This might also be said about social networks. Stick and rope are two very important keywords. You'll be using the stick in our new game, but that is not all. How will you be able to use the rope to connect people worldwide? Will you be able to use both tools? The game will have you playing with tools and think about these points. With technology advancing as far as it has, dividing games into genres like action or RPG doesn't sound too forward thinking, but Death Stranding should be a new genre.
I don't even know.
Is
he saying that
I
like
don't know.
it's gonna be like
Global?
a progressive online world? And depending on the relationships we make in this virtual space will affect not only our character, but the
Entire
virtual
gameplay?
world itself.
I don't know.
Also,
I don't
everything
know.
that he just said leads me to believe something that everyone has been talking about, that Norman Reedus is not the playable character. Neither is Mads Mikkelsen.
Right.
So they're just NPCs in the game. So then who are you?
Are you? You're already playing the game.
Yeah, see, yeah.
I'm confused. See, this is what Death Stranding does. We don't have enough information.
And we
about
won't.
it.
And
The
the thing
guy's
is,
a wizard.
Yeah. I mean, dude, that
weird.
trailer is weird too, man. where he's
I
like-
know. I've seen like 30 different videos like trying to break down and
Hey,
explain.
you know what,
You
though?
and
can't
they have
explain it.
30
He's holding the
different
baby, and the
explanations.
sudden his hands are all black, and then he starts crawling to all the fish.
Hey,
Yeah. And then there's people like floating in
I
the
sound
sky.
like a crazy person
people,
right now.
people floating in the sky.
Okay.
Over the ocean.
okay.
Death Stranding.
I will.
Oh yeah, there's like
there's
they're all
people
spaced
floating.
out. Yeah.
There's
That's why I'm like, are we going to be able to fly? What's up with them? What are you
right.
doing over there? People in the distance?
credit where it's due. I will say it does no information for you, and it's super trippy.
Why does that fat guy have a baby in a jar?
But it is beautiful.
I know.
Oh, it looks.
It is
Oh,
incredibly beautiful.
you could
weird.
show that if you put that in like in the way it's supposed to be viewed, like on a 4K television.
It looks real.
It looks real.
It looks entirely
looks like
real.
Mads Mikkelsen.
Yeah.
It's
Like,
crazy.
beautiful.
Horror games.
I mean, it might be a horror game.
It might be a horror game.
I-
It might
I
not.
mean-
Well,
Giving
so
me
far it's giving me the willies. Like it's
Tentacle
weird.
face?
Giving
It
me
seems
nightmares.
fairly horror.
Babies in jars.
That's fairly horrific.
Why is that
Umbilical
baby?
cords and whales and people floating in the sky.
Yeah.
I mean, you've got like a faceless
weird.
paramilitary organization.
I don't know what's happening.
We don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know.
You know what?
But-
Going back to horror, you know what game really revived the entire horror genre when it kind of died out in the late 90s? And the game that's credited with really reviving the whole genre as a whole, because this is when Fear and Outlast were kind of following in its wake, was Fatal Frame.
Oh yeah.
And Outlast takes a lot of its mechanics
Yeah.
from Fatal Frame. For those that don't know, Fatal Frame was a Japanese released game where you are a photographer and you're tasked with investigating this haunted house. And the only way to stop the, very angry spirits that are haunting this mansion is with
I'm totally destroying you.
taking pictures of them.
yeah.
So not only, and it kind of turned the genre on its head, because before that, like, you had two possibilities in horror games. You can either stand and fight and kill them or destroy them, in Resident Evil and so forth, or you can run, like Alone in the Dark and Silent Hill.
Right.
This game was a weird
Hybrid.
where you're hiding until you can stand and take a picture and capture a horrifying image of the ghost. Those twins freak
And it
me
was
out.
freaky. It was real.
Those
freaky.
twins freak me out.
Yeah.
Japanese twin creepy. This freak me
It's
out.
freaky.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like some shiningness going on.
It's
weird.
like the original Ring.
Yeah.
kinda
Oh, yeah.
freaky. Yeah,
Ugh.
that was.
Or The Grudge.
Oh yeah, or The Grudge. Yeah. Ugh.
Game that I played a lot that still stands out to me is like one of my favorite. I classify it as a horror game because it was very psychological, and it had the stereotypical light versus dark kind of aspect. Alan Wake
Okay. Yeah.
was unbelievable. Now, I played Alan Wake. I never had any interest in it. Saw it, Alan Wake, he's a writer. I didn't know the ins and outs of it. But I moved, and I didn't have internet or anything. I didn't even have TV or whatever. But I had my 360, and I remember my brother-in-law Brian. He had Alan Wake, and I remember I was like, "I play this," and he was like, "Sure, whatever." And I played that game.
Yeah, that sounds like him.
Offline, and I couldn't stop playing it. But it freaked me out because it was one of those games where it was like, it made you go where the light was your friend, like literally the lights. So it was like the dark was bad. So it was like one of those things when you're a kid. What are you scared of? You scared of the dark?
Sure.
The dark was bad. Yeah. The dark was bad in Alan Wake. And the only way to fight the dark was with light. And
Those literal personifications of
yeah,
darkness,
of
like
darkness,
the creepy,
just
like
shadow dudes showing
dudes.
up and chasing you. And the only way you could kill them was if you shine the light on them when they exploded into darkness.
That's
Like,
weird.
but it was intense. It was like that. There was that part in the game that was real intense where you're being chased by the guys and you're in like the sawmill area, and the lights keep flickering on and off, and you got to run in between the lights and dodge all the stuff, and the guys are coming after you. Oh my gosh, like it was intense. I remember like playing that game and literally like jumping out of my chair, like running from stuff, and I was afraid of the dark. And because of that game, I had to play the game with the lights on because I was afraid of the dudes. It freaked me out, man. It was like you're running through the forest and the dark starts happening. Like there's like all this wind and like all the trees are trying to grab you and stuff like that. Like it's like, oh man,
dude,
it's
no,
intense.
thank you.
It's intense.
One of
I don't know if you ever played it, but
No.
it's intense.
One of the things I really enjoyed about
Fantastic game. 10 out of
Alan
10
Wake
for
was
sure.
its episodic nature.
Oh yeah, it's kind of like
it's like watching a TV series.
yeah.
Because
it literally would be like on
literally
this next
you finish
episode,
an episode, and then it's like it
it
jumps.
gives you a recap.
Yeah.
and then you play the next episode.
So it encourages you to like, okay, I finished an episode.
Take a break.
I can take a break.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
But it was like, and it was always like, dang, this is a long episode.
but like it's those brief moments of respite that like ramp up the tension when you come back.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Because
There was
that recap lets you know where you left. You're like, oh, crap.
yeah,
Yeah,
and it's a
yeah.
very psychological, like thrilling game.
I think
like,
that
for sure.
I think that one, like Outlast or what was the other? I named it Until Dawn.
yeah,
Is more of a virtual movie.
Yeah.
Because if you came out now and was like, oh, by the way, Stephen King wrote Alan Wake, I'd be like, yes,
Yeah.
that makes sense. Because it's very Stephen King-ish in its content, and just the dialogue really makes me think. And the story itself is very. I wouldn't be surprised if it was a Stephen King novel that
Yeah.
they made into a video game.
right.
Like,
It's
that's how it
fantastic.
feels.
Yeah.
it's great.
I can understand that from what you guys tell
And
me.
they had, they had made the second one. It was like American something or other. It wasn't the
It was
same.
not good.
But-
Could not.
Play Alan Wake. That one, that game is like in my top 3 like favorite, thriller / horror style game. It's not gory, not like a ton of
No.
language in it. It's not.
Yeah.
It's fantastic though. It's
It
very.
gets-
It messes with your head for sure.
It gets you where you live.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And now we got a lot of games now. I think
What was the PlayStation game that caused so much controversy, where you're the prisoner, and it's got like the brutal, like executions in it.
I don't know.
Manhunt.
Oh, I didn't play
remember that
one.
game?
I didn't play
Yeah.
it. I
You
remember
remember
it.
that?
Yes, I do.
I remember the controversy
Yeah,
too.
I'm gonna
but I
look
didn't
up that
play it.
controversy.
Look up
Yeah.
that controversy.
Yeah, I
because
remember this.
It was a brutal game. I haven't it was so long ago that I played it, but if I remember correctly, you're a prisoner, and it was some weird, like, Running Man-esque.
13 years later, Manhunt remains a jarring reflection on violence.
Yeah. Can you,
It was a Rockstar game.
Yeah, of course it was.
Of course it was.
It was
Let's see.
fantastic, though. It was great controls. Do you have a brief synopsis
I'm
in there?
trying to, yeah. The gameplay is focused on stalking and silently murdering droves of fellow convicts in brutal fashion. Upon release, a lot of popular voices, mainstream news sites, California U.S. Representative Joe Baca.
Of course he did.
Yeah.
Yep.
Decree the game as encouraging
die
violence,
already.
and it does in its way. Violence is the point of the game, but killing in Manhunt is far from glamorous. That remains so effective about it. It's not fun, a fun killing game. It's a horror game.
The toilet.
Yeah.
Oh, you kill some guy in the bathroom by crushing his skull with a toilet seat,
Yeah.
and it's brutal.
The
So,
killing
you know,
here
I
is
guess that's a
enthralling,
little bit better
but
than drowning him
nasty.
in a swirly.
The killing here is enthralling but nasty, as horrific as 2003's graphics and sound processing technology could communicate. You're encouraged to silently execute enemies, but at the moment of execution, the game pulls away control. The camera shifts to the simulated viewpoint of a fuzzy handheld recorder, and you watch Cash commit the deed. Every other part of the game, from its basic but finely tuned stealth system to its slightly cartoony series of prison gangs set up to slaughter, revolves around this single awful moment. This is Manhunt, watching a man commit murder again and again, wondering if you should turn away, wondering what it means to live in a culture where murder on a massive scale is routine and routinely watched and reported in vivid detail, wondering if it's somehow your fault, knowing that you're not going to stop. The tape sucks the air right out of your chest, but you watch it every time.
It's like, okay,
It's gnarly.
do you remember the first, or in Casino Royale, when
The
Bond,
original or the new one?
the new one?
Okay.
Not the Peter Sellers.
That's fine. No, because I don't.
Manhunt 2 had like a lot
I
of
remember
porn and
the
stuff
newer
in it,
one
too.
better,
Yeah,
so-
Manhunt
Pretty
2
gnarly.
jumped the shark.
Yeah.
I'm gonna
But-
actually remember the new one better. So go ahead.
When he is fighting that guy in the bathroom, and it's very visceral, and it's very like,
This is right before the torture scene, yeah?
no. This is at the beginning of the movie before the opening.
Oh,
Credits.
okay.
And it's very visceral, and it's very unlike any previous Bond movie.
Yeah, because Bond is not usually so violent.
Yeah. That
Pop, we're
level of violence, like, taken, like,
Times 10.
times 10.
Dude, it's like you can beat people up, they get on their knees, and then it goes to that camera angle, and then you just knock their head off with a baseball bat.
It's brutal.
Like, not like oh
Not
man,
just-
like full face is crushed.
It's
Yeah.
like
It's
remember in
So you control this character all the way up until the point of you got them, and then it pans away to a camera, and you're basically watching ISIS execution videos.
no, it's like a webcam.
Yeah.
It's like they have webcams like hidden throughout the prison, and they're like selling tickets to watch.
Yeah.
It's like Running Man. You know what I'm talking about?
Wow.
The Schwarzenegger movie?
Yeah.
It's like
Wow.
that.
Like you can like straight up shiv a dude
Yeah,
Like,
and
just-
it's very visceral.
continuously, just
Wow.
It's like super.
like
That's
just
what,
repeatedly stabbing a dude in the stomach. Like it's
and that's
gnarly.
what, and that's kind of like, because I had never played a game to that point that was so viscerally. I don't know how
Yeah.
else to describe it. Like that.
It was like the Mortal Kombat thing, where it was like this game is like
It makes it,
depicting
and that's why,
violence,
and that's
but
why,
this is like on a different scale.
and that's why it made me think of the opening for
Higher
Casino
scale.
Royale, because as soon as that fight scene sets the tone for Daniel Craig as Bond.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like this is a realistic way that if you're going to fight some dude in a bathroom, like, okay, you're trained, but it's still not going to be like kung fu, you know.
Right.
You're not
You'll
going to walk
use what you have handy.
you're not going to walk
Right.
away from it without a couple scrapes. Even if you kill the guy, and he does,
Yeah.
it's still going to be like a vicious brawl. Like
You'll
it's
walk
how-
away with a few bruises.
if
and
you
maybe
ever
a couple
if you ever
cuts.
yeah if you've ever seen like a bar fight,
Yeah.
like in real life, like that's how fights like actually happen. Like people don't like square off like Roadhouse style
Yeah.
and like talking trash. Like people are. It's vicious and
then
it's
a crowd
fast.
forms around him and it's just the two of them.
Yeah,
no,
it's vicious and it's fast,
Yeah.
and that's how Manhunt
Manhunt
is. It's if you.
It's intense. That game's old.
Yeah, I know. and it's-
2003.
Like, and Rockstar got a lot of flack for having for Grand Theft Auto and blah blah blah, but Manhunt was on a whole.
Manhunt, yeah.
Nobody will ever get any flack on the same level as Call of Duty did. That was brutal.
For the terrorist scene.
Yes.
You're talking about the scene in the airport.
For those of you who don't know what we're talking about, I know we're talking about horror.
Modern
games,
Warfare
but that
2?
was a horror. In
I would
itself.
honestly say that one scene was horrific.
That's hands down the worst, the most intense thing I've ever seen. I felt like genuine emotion. You know what we're talking
For
about?
people that don't,
okay,
for
so
people that don't know,
Modern Warfare 2, there is a part in the game where you play as a
Double
spy,
agent.
a double
CIA agent.
CIA double agent. The scene starts with you're in an elevator,
In
right?
being a double agent, sometimes you have
You're
to
in-
do a little give to get what you want.
Right.
So
You're-
sometimes,
you have to play the part.
so sometimes you have to sell it, and sometimes you do have to go through with the terrorist action in the
Right.
cell that you're embedded in, so you can take the whole cell down later.
Right. So the scene plays out where you're playing a double agent and you end up joining.
no Russian.
Yeah.
Remember.
You're with this terrorist group, and I think the scene starts out. You're in an elevator.
You're in an elevator.
And
you
you're in an
all have your
elevator,
ski masks.
and you put your ski masks on. Don't
And
know where
you're-
you are, what you're doing. The doors open up, and you're in an airport. Your job: kill every American civilian in that airport.
No, you're in Germany.
Oh, Germany. Yeah, I'm
You're-
sorry, not in America, in Germany. And you
You're
just
in Munich.
walk
You're at
through,
the Munich International Airport.
and you just kill hundreds, thousands.
And there's
you're
it's
playing.
just
You're
very-
literally playing a terrorist who's just killing.
the problem
civilians.
you run into is
That's
there's a
what
couple,
you're doing.
There's a
It's
couple
very-
guards that have guns for sure.
But
There's a couple
it's-
marshals, but at the end of the day, you're an agent who is literally mowing down civilians.
Yeah.
You are playing
and it's
that
not.
part.
And it's not. It's graphic.
They are screaming.
There
and they
are
are
women.
running.
There are people. There's women.
There are
dying,
children.
holding each other.
No,
children.
there are no
No, there's no
children.
children.
Well,
but
yeah.
They did
there's
not put
depiction
children.
of
They didn't put
it's
that in there.
Depiction of
But you kind of have to assume.
I think it's more it's
gnarly.
the juxtaposition because this is the first time I think in first person that your object because it's different.
It's
in
real
Grand Theft
disturbing. It's disturbing.
Auto. In Grand Theft Auto, you could do horrific things.
Yeah.
But
You have an option.
you're never incentivized or objectivized to do horrific things.
You can't progress in the game unless you start shooting.
Yeah.
That part.
This level can only be beaten by committing a terrorist act.
Yeah.
By shooting innocent civilians in an airport.
by just mowing
Like
down
in Grand Theft-
civilians.
That
To me, that was a whole nother
That
thing
was a whole
because
nother
people
thing.
can say that video games like encourage violence against women and blah blah blah. But every time they bring up an example, it's Grand Theft Auto. Grand Theft Auto never once incentivized me to commit a crime. In fact, it did the opposite. Every time I committed a crime in Grand Theft Auto,
It gave
me wanted levels,
Yes.
meaning that the police would then chase me.
There
That
was
is
a-
the exact opposite
there
of
was a consequence.
incentivization.
It penalized you.
In Hitman, if I did not kill my specific if I hurt any innocent civilians
Or
or
if you were
bystanders, or if I was seen, I lost money on my contract. It's the
You were penalized.
opposite. Yeah, I'm penalized for doing something.
in Modern Warfare 2, this scene.
This was the objective.
the
the
objective
objective
was,
was
to
to
kill
kill
people.
That level was
Innocent.
and
walk into
there's
an airport
people
and
just
murder
running
civilians.
all over the place, and you're literally just aiming and shooting.
They're screaming and running for their
And
lives.
It's pretty. I've seen a lot of
It's
things in
different.
video
I think
games,
it- I
and
think
I've
it's
played a lot of
different.
things in games, but I've never played anything.
I
like
never,
that.
yeah, I never had an experience where
No.
I was kind of like I didn't want
I
To play that.
didn't want
to
to
do
it.
that.
Yeah.
Like, is it because of the situation or because you're American and
No.
It didn't have
It's the
anything.
situation.
It didn't have anything to do with nationality.
They're civilians.
No.
because
It's
it was.
just-
Yeah, I mean, you were in a German.
You know,
era.
here's the thing. It's like in the world, we had all these things happening at the time, too, this game came
Honestly,
out.
Yeah,
And
because
terrorism
when
was
the
like
game
war on
came
terror was
out,
really on the rise, and now you're playing a terrorist mowing down civilians.
I
in
think
an airport.
Stuart really hit the nail on the head, though.
Yeah,
I
definitely.
think Stuart really hit the nail on the head, though, because he was saying just now how he's playing it, and it's the first time he didn't really
I did not want to pull
want
the trigger.
to do it. And
Yeah.
you have to look at it. It's like, you're a double agent. You don't. You do not want to walk into that airport and mow down those civilians. But at the end of the day, if you don't, you're dead.
Yeah,
I think, and let's go to the end of it. I think the worst part about it
is the end of that scene.
was the end of that level,
Yep.
where it didn't even matter.
It didn't even matter
because
matter.
then
They knew who you were.
They knew you were a CIA operative. They got you to kill innocent people, and then they shoot you in the head and
Chest, I think.
frame the CIA for it.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So nothing so you just went. That's the real gut punch.
Yeah.
Is that you are being forced by the gameplay to do something that you know is
Wrong.
disturbing and deplorable and just horrific.
Horrific.
And then
It's
at the
gnarly.
end of it, it was completely pointless.
Yeah. There was no
Because
reason
you
for it.
die and you can't stop it.
It was bad,
And I think that was the big.
and that was horrific. That
And,
counts
and
as
that
one of the
was
most
the
horrific things
and
I've
I
ever
was
played in a
so
video game.
I remember because I went to the midnight release of that game, and I was talking to my friend. It was my friend Doug and I. We both went,
Mm-hmm.
and we got the game, and then we both went to our separate homes to like put it in and
Play,
play.
right.
We're like, oh, we're gonna do the campaign because that sounds fun.
Right.
And like when you first put in the game, the very first time you put it in, it gives you a warning. There is graphic and disturbing content in this game. If you so choose, you can skip this and it'll be revealed in a cutscene.
Yeah.
Do you want to play this part?
You're like, yeah, whatever.
That's the first time I've ever had a game
Tell you that.
tell me that.
But in your head, you're probably thinking like, I mean, it's Call of Duty. I'm
To
probably
give me
just
an
gonna-
option about
I'm
it.
just
either.
gonna go murder a bunch of Nazis or something. You know?
Yeah, I was like,
You're like, yeah,
I
whatever.
was
Oh,
like,
cool. Graphic violence.
I
Whatever.
was talking to my
Was
friend on
not
the. I was talking to my friend on the
expecting
phone.
that.
I was like, "Psh, what was that stupid like warning? I don't even know.
Click play.
And then,
Little
like-
did you know.
And then I got to that part, and like after it finished, I called him. I was like, dude, did you get to that part? He's like, yeah, I'm doing it right now. I was like, dude, what the? Why? I don't know.
Can you imagine being in the room when they were
The
like,
programmers and writers,
when they were like,
took a
what are we gonna do?
big
They probably
chance.
that room must have been so quiet.
They took a big chance. Because that could have destroyed them.
Part in the game is gonna go down in history as like one of the most disturbing.
and it wasn't even a horror game.
No,
No,
but it was
that
horrific.
one scene was horror.
It was horrific.
Oh, you're given the option.
Oh yeah,
Oh yeah.
yeah, but
Well, no, it didn't tell you what it was. It
Didn't
just
tell you.
told. Oh yeah, now you can skip it.
I would
Yeah.
skip
But the
it.
first time we played it,
I don't want to play that. Ever.
like I
No,
played
I
it.
don't
at
even want the
I
cutscene.
played it at
Start, move
1
on.
in the morning.
Yeah.
Like no one had told me what it was.
Yeah,
I
no one knew.
experienced it.
no one
And
knew.
the other problem was all these guys who hadn't experienced it. No one knew what it was. It wasn't out there yet. All these guys get the game, and the warning says it has graphic violence, and it's the first time you've ever seen that. But you're like,
It's like hell yeah, I want graphic
it's Call
violence.
of Duty.
This
Of
is
course,
Call
it's
of
graphic
Duty.
violence.
Yeah.
I'm going to run around shooting people in the face with a 3-round burst. Their brains are going to end up on the wall behind them. Yes, that's graphic violence.
I want this.
That's the
Yeah.
point.
Yep. Click. Okay, I'll play it.
Did not see that.
I did
Remember,
not.
no Russian. Whoa, not
And
what
the level
I
is
signed
called
in
No
for.
Russian.
Yeah,
That
it's
is
crazy.
not what I signed up for.
It is insane.
It was horror.
So, on that note, because now I'm just real.
You want to do a real quick favorite?
favorite horror
Yeah,
game?
Favorite
horror
horror
game?
game of all time.
Horror game of all time? Like, as in, is this scary
Just-
or
just your
favorite. Favorite.
Just your favorite.
fear?
Oh, interesting. One we didn't talk about.
Yeah, fear scared the crap out of me because it was different. It was just different.
Yeah.
I also liked Parasite Eve.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, for the PS1.
Spiritual successor to Resident Evil.
It was great. I liked it more than Resident Evil, actually.
You know, as much as I love Outlast, it is a fantastic game. It's easily tied for number 1 or at least number 2 for me. I grew up playing Left 4 Dead 2. Loved it.
Okay.
That sugar mill. Left 4 Dead 1 and like the first 3 levels just train you. Fear the witch. It's the most terrifying thing in the game. Even the tank is no problem. And then you walk up a walkway, you look down, and they're everywhere. And they're not asleep. They're walking. It's just this is the most terrifying game of Frogger I'm ever gonna play right now.
What about you?
I guess I have to. If I'm gonna say like a modern horror game, probably Fatal Frame 2.
Okay.
But if I'm going to say one of the first horror games that I ever played that probably sticks with me to this day, I Have No Mouth, But I Must Scream.
Oh, there you go.
Yes.
Terrible graphics. It doesn't scare me at all now, but
in the head,
freaked me out.
yeah, I can see it, dude. That's a
Just
head game.
the part where you're strung up in the meat locker, man.
That's a head
like,
game.
I just can't. And the worm, the game is so out of control. For my DOS PC, floppy disk.
All right. Actually, you know what, too? The first Dead Space scared the crap out of me.
Yeah.
The first Dead Space was really scary.
I didn't
remember
know
playing
that inventory
with-
was no pause. That was the most. I learned that the hard way.
Yeah. And then there's a new game, actually, that's fantastic if you guys haven't played it yet, but Prey is amazing. Prey's fantastic. Huh?
EY?
Yeah.
Prey,
It's
EY.
nice that it came out after 10 years.
Right. It's fantastic. It's great.
I'll have to look it up.
Alien, the whole moon thing. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
fantastic.
it came out 10 years later.
Yeah. It's great. Check it out.
This was a game that they developed 10 years ago and only recently came out.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because like 3 different companies like shut down and like it's just like
And finally, someone said, "I'm going to finish this." Stamp. Send
someone
it.
did it. Yeah.
Another game that I'll just say really quick before we wrap up that really like
Damn, you got a lot of favorites.
well, no, it's not a favorite,
Just
but
kidding.
that was really good. I feel like it needs to be mentioned is the Alien Isolation was pretty intense with like.
Don't know.
Oh, you never played it?
Didn't play it.
It's pretty intense with the alien being able to
I was
hear
never
you talk and
I was
stuff.
never like a fan of any of the Alien
I know,
video
it's-
games.
but
Like,
it's-
they never captured
The
to
movie.
me
Oh,
the
right.
the spirit of the movie.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's good.
I
though.
will say
like the
that
Isolation.
the horror game I am looking forward to
That's trending.
is no. Like it's a horror game. Is the Friday the 13th game?
Isn't that already out?
Is it? I don't think so.
What's
think
it
so.
called?
I think
like, is it actually called Friday the 13th? Or
It's the one where like you can play as Jason or the like kids running
it's
away
out.
from him.
Yeah.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, it's out.
Oh, okay. I
does
wanna
Jason
play
have a run setting?
Yeah. Huh?
Or are you
It's-
always
You can-
walking forever?
Like,
Watching-
we could all play.
that. Yeah.
No, I was just
We could all
joking
play together.
because in the movie,
Yeah. We should do
no
that.
matter what, he's walking, but you can run around a corner and then run around another
Yeah.
corner and then run around a third corner.
Do you play the
and
game?
then he's behind you still. And
Yeah.
It's like,
you can like phase.
I've been running. He's been
You
walking.
phase.
Yeah, you can like phase like someone's like running and
The-
like show up and you
the
can be like
mo-
boo, like behind
the
him and it
mocap.
makes a
They got some. They
you
got
do it?
some big
It's
like.
amazing.
They got some big like
fantastic.
6'7" bodybuilder to do the mocap of Jason.
Yeah.
And
That's
the video
awesome.
of him doing the mocap for the
phase?
executions
Oh.
is disturbing in itself.
Oh.
Because he's like taking someone's leg and like ripping it. Like ripping it
Right here.
the wrong way this
Oh,
way.
dude.
And it's
Right at the hip.
brutal. So brutal. Looks cool. Looks fun.
Whoa.
Like how fun can that be? Because it's just like
Because it's either a team versus one, and you have to like escape.
One person is Jason and
One
everyone
person's
else is
Jason and
running away
everyone
from
else
Jason.
is innocent
So somebody-
camp
You're
counselors.
playing the poor innocent
So-
teenagers.
Yeah.
It's fantastic.
So
Yeah, it's a
Evolve
great idea.
flopped, and they went, let's take this idea of team play versus another person and put it in a horror game.
Basically.
yeah, essentially, yep.
I like it.
It's fantastic.
Yeah.
I have it. We should play sometime, like
Yeah,
on
I'm
Steam or
down.
something.
Okay,
It's fun. So, all right, we need to wrap up.
let's do it.
Thank you guys for listening to us talk about horror games and things that were just horrific in video
So
games.
spoopy.
And, yeah, spoopy. Ooh, this is the start of our Halloween series.
Halloween!
For the rest of the month, we're going to be talking about Halloween stuff. It's going to be great.
So spoopy.
Halloween. And we may have some guest stars. It's gonna
Where are
be
they going to
awesome.
sit?
On my lap. All right. Well, you can find the podcast on iTunes and Google Play. The links to that will be down here in the corner. That's on the website. You can visit the website and find all the links to all of our social media there.
Down there in the corner?
I'm not looking at it. 'Cause I know this time. You can find me on Twitter at that Stephen Brown.
You can usually find me avoiding Twitter at Believe the Weave.
And you can find me outlasting these two at Stu_no last name.
That was a good one.
That was
Thank
good.
guys.
High five.
High five. High five. Slap hands. Hey guys, and we'll see you guys next week.
Or
Bye,
will
guys.
we?
Our producer's back.